Are we back? Are we back? I think we are. Let's see. I think we're back. All right. We're back. All right. Looks like we're back. Let's see what I got. 5. Okay. Okay. Looking good, I think. So someone said, not sure I'll be able to recapture the rage. Yeah, right on, man. I heard that, Mike. When Dianne Feinstein starts buying, that's when you know we're at a bottom, man. I could not agree more than that. That's for sure. Let me see if I got it on. Can't tell if anyone's on here or not. Let's see. All right, right on. Yeah, right, dude. But the panic, exactly, Carl. Carl says the people who are not fearful, we're gonna shut them down. So it looks like I can't. So it looks like you can hear me, Carl. Or Bernie's at me exactly. So anyway, Mike C says when Dianne Feinstein starts buying, that's when you know we're at a bottom. Understood. Let's see. Digital distancing now. It says you're too close. Step back, please. No way to predict it. All right, so let's go into some of this stuff here. I got my thought off my chest. I had to say that. All right. Did Josh say once you could get the right capital software? Yes, Nancy, with 100%. So you can get it. I charge $150 one-time fee. I offer no support, just be advised. But man, there's so many videos I've done. Right Capital has his own YouTube channel too, as well. I hope you all can hear this. El Katrine, can one of y'all say, give me a thumbs up if you can hear me or something like that? Because, okay, right on. Looks like you're good. Is it a different one? I'm not sure. Is it a different link? Digital. All right, right on. So you heard the digital distancing. All right. So anyway, I charge, yeah, 150 for the access. I don't offer any support. Right on, Tom. Hey, right on, Tom. Okay, right on. Thank you. But you know, there's tons of videos. And other thing too is Nancy, is that I can't. Is you don't buy the software. You're just buying. It's all cloud based. All right. So what happens is if I ever stop to pay Right Capital for their support, or for, you know, if I ever unsubscribe from, you would lose your data. So just be advised. I cannot tell people enough. Back from tree hugging. I still have enough toilet paper, Dana. I don't have to do that yet. All right, new stream, right on. Rant on. All right. Oh, man. Anyway, so that's the drawback about live streams, is that you start getting a little bit of a rant, and next thing you know, you ran on. All right. So let's go. So, Bill, I'll get back to you. Let me see some of the other ones here. Josh didn't pay his internet bill. Oh, man. Pablo, choose the internet cord. Pablo chewed the cord. Oh, man, that is funny. Josh's kids are downloading their homework. Oh, man. The deep state finally got me. Conspiracy? Yeah, man. Larry says, I wonder if he's still talking. All right. Coronavirus feds got me. Exactly, man. Let's see. All right. Vic says, I wonder who's going to be on the hook for the $4 trillion of stimulators they say is going to have stimulus. Vic, I got to tell you, man, I'm not worried about that. I mean, look, I'm not worried to the extent, how can I say this? I'm worried about the precedent more than anything. I'm also worried about the shutdown that we're dealing with now, the precedent that's established. Anytime we have a precedent like this, this is, I tell you, for those of us on the right, we should have learned from the No Child Left Behind, the Patriot Act. And there's another one too, Title IX. I mean, once the precedent is established, the big government types, they're willing to give up 5 yards to get 80. And that's my concern about all this stuff, is once the precedent is established, they can never put the genie back in. I'm not worried about hyperinflation. I'm not worried about, for this one stimulus, I'm not. I am it's even worse than the coronavirus time. This time it's even worse than September 11th. And man, my internet connection is unstable. I don't know what is going on with my Wi-Fi. Hopefully I'm still on here. Yeah. I'll just close that out. So hopefully I'm still here. It looks like my Wi-Fi was looking good. Uh-oh, yeah, I saw that too, man. It looks like froze here again. Oh boy, no. I'm just gonna back. Okay, cool. I appreciate that. If stimulus. All right, so if it keeps freezing, I might just go straight from my phone actually and just use the data on my phone. We'll see. But keep letting me know. I just closed my other one out. But anyway, the issue is I'm not worried about the hyperinflation. I just don't think there's any evidence of that at all. But Jeff, I've done that like 5,000 times. Reboot the router. Yeah, working for now. So I'll give it one more shot. If it does, I'll just go straight on the phone and we'll figure it out. All right. Hey, thanks, Carl. Right on. Appreciate that. And there's Pablo. So I know he didn't have to. I know Pablo, Zoom is overloaded. That might well be, but it's the Wi-Fi though. I think that's what it is. All right. So going back to the inflationary stuff, I'm just not that worried about that. I am worried about the precedent. The inflation stuff, we've had debt forever, man, forever, and we haven't paid it. We've had debt since I did a video like maybe 2 weeks ago where they talk about all the debt under FDR, and we've never paid it. We've never paid any of that debt. And so because that, we just we don't have hyperinflation. We just simply have deflation as our primary concern right now, without question. I mean, if we have and that's what, remember, the Great Depression wasn't because people were depressed, is because it wasn't a recession, it was a depression. The GDP, in fact, I think I have it up here. Let's see. I think I might even have it on, hold on just a second. If I go back to, let's see if y'all can see this. Yeah, okay, I'm gonna, hopefully I'm still on here. I'm gonna show you all something here. If I can figure it out. Oops. There we go. All right, I'm gonna show you guys something. Watch this. If I can share. Yeah, here we go, sweet. I'm gonna show you guys this right here. Let me get rid of that. All right. Watch this. Hopefully y'all can see this. So this right here is the inflation rate going back to 1900. I took this straight from a Robert Shiller stuff from Yale. All right, so remember we had 1.14% inflation, 2.27, and then we had -2, -1, 4.4. The Federal Reserve Board came around here, 1913, if memory serves. Then we go down. Then we start having big inflation because of World War II. And then after we had after World War II was finally settled, we had deflation. So we had 16% deflation after World War II. But then if you go until, watch this. Sorry about that. So here we start to have negative, negative, zero, negative. So we have negatives. This is the sign of the depression. Now this is just recession. I remember recession is just two quarters back to back of negative growth. And negative growth could be literally nothing, like -0.01 or something like that. It doesn't have to be much. But in 27, we had negative for the whole year. 28, we had negative for the whole year. 29, we had no growth. 30, we had negative 2.34. 31, we had negative 8.98. 32, we had negative 9.87. And 33, we had negative 5.11. What we've learned from that is that we've learned that you can't be contracting the monetary supply while this is happening. And this, unfortunately, is what they were doing. They're contracting the monetary supply because they're worried about the level of debt and whatnot. You just can't do that. When there's a depression, not a recession, a depression, you've got to get spending out there. You got to get dollar bills in the hands of people who can spend them. So they were, and that's what FDR did, and it took a long time. Unfortunately, FDR, unlike the Trumpster, did a lot of National Recovery Act, the AAA. I forgot what the AAA thing was saying. I forgot what it was. The minimum wage laws made it illegal to own gold. He did a lot of other crazy stuff for sure. There's a couple. You got to read the history of the FDR. I got a book up there on that. I forgot off the top of my head. I think it wasn't. Was it Murray Rothbard or Henry Hazlitt had written about it? Anyway, long story short, you can see after all that right there, we didn't have any kind of inflation at all, even the next couple of years, even though FDR was, had the printing press going, we had the civilian crew that, dug out, that forced people out of their houses in Shenandoah Valley, for instance. I know that for a fact. But we didn't have any kind of inflation. The only reason we had inflation was because World War II came. Sad. All right, so then we had a little bit of inflation after World War II was over. So you can see the inflation is caused by war and socialism. Every single time it's caused by war and socialism. We go to 1966, 1967, then we go to Nixon. And Nixon, we're all Keynesians now. That's what Nixon said. Wage and price controls got off the gold standard, Bretton Woods. And then you can see the massive, then you got an oil shock in 73 and 74. So we had massive inflation, but certainly wasn't due to government spending. No way. And then we see the massive inflation. That's not because of government printing presses. That's because of the scarcity established by big government. And then Reagan and Volcker came in and kicked it butt, and we haven't had any kind of inflation since. I mean, look at this, nothing. Even 1990 during the first Gulf War, nothing. We haven't had it since, even though the debt has been booming. So the issue, in my opinion, that the debt is going to cost a massive amount of inflation. I just don't think there's evidence of that, or the spending is going to cause a massive amount of inflation. I don't think it's there's evidence of that at all. But we do know, we've learned from history that we need the government to spend. I hate to say it, but that's the last resort now. Look, I wish there was no Fed, but here we are. We can wish what we want, or we can deal with the reality that it is. And at this stage, the reality is that the only game in town is the government to get the printing presses on and put money in people's pockets. My whole thing about this is they are destroying the economy and destroying people simply because of the fear of people from the World Health Organization and the CDC and stuff like that, who are just creating false sense of panic. I don't care what anybody says. And of course the media, led by the media. And so and I'm getting a lot, but like, they shouldn't bail out the airlines and stuff like that. I mean, this is a taking, man. This is eminent domain stuff. I mean, they're literally telling airlines, you can't do your business. You can't do to the restaurant your business. These are takings. The government is shutting people down from their day-to-day lives. If there's a house that they're taking so they could build a highway through your yard, they'd have to give you legitimate money. That's my one thing on Trump, which I was very hesitant about supporting Trump, was he was a big fan of the Kelo decision in Connecticut, which was the eminent domain, where the government could come in and take some lady's property to basically give it to another business. That's bad. And Trump was all for that. And I was very skeptical of the Trumpster, because like, man, inherently you need to be against that for sure. And he wasn't. I was like, he turned out to be a hell of a lot better than I thought, though, that's for sure. But at the end of the day, if you're going to shut these companies down, business down, it's a taking. So you gotta give them back their right. The way to do that is to flood the zone with money. And at some point, could it be inflationary? Sure. I'll worry about that later. Right now, we got to worry about deflation, a depression of unseen proportions. Remember, man, a depression ain't no joke. Literally, a depression is scary stuff. Read, oh, man, I got to hold on a second. I'm not gonna be able to find it. There's a book in there called Ersatz. There's two books I read. One after the Second World War. I forgot that was called. It was about women in Italy selling themselves because there was no money, no bread, no nothing. They had nothing, and so they literally prostitute themselves in front of their husbands and stuff just to make a couple bucks from Russian commie soldiers and American soldiers too. Ersatz and the Confederacy. There's talk about that during the Civil War. They had no money. The depression set in, and that's no joke. When there's a depression, it's friggin', you can't find anything because think about it. Everyone's gonna hoard stuff because what is valuable today will be more valuable tomorrow. That's not good. Anyway, so if you're interested, this isn't the book on the monetary policy of the Great Depression about the mistakes we made, but you always start with Milton Friedman. And if you notice, look who that is. To Josh Scanlon with best wishes, Milton and Rose Friedman. I have that signed by Milton Friedman right there, man. Free to choose. I disagree to some regard now with Milton's talk about monetarist policy. If you were raised in the 60s and 70s, the monetarist, Keynes was big in the late 40s, 50s. The monetarists, maybe in the 60s, started coming in the University of Chicago in the 60s, 70s, and probably 70s and 80s. Times change though, man. Different schools of thought have to come to the fruition and come to the front. And I'm not 100% big on this modern monetary theory, but I do think there's some legitimacy to that for sure. Because I read Richard Koo, and Richard Koo is one who stepped me on my way that Japan was the evidence, just like our own Great Depression, that what we had was a lack of demand. It wasn't supply side, it was demand side. And the way you increase demand is get money in people's pockets. You don't contract the money supply. You don't make all these big government things. You say, we're gonna give you the money. And who was it? Josh Hawley, and I think even Tom Cotton, I'm a fan of both of those guys. They're making a critical mistake. They're saying if you have a certain level of income, you're going to get, the stimulus money, but if you don't have that certain level of income, you're not. All right, I just want to make sure. All right, good. It looks like I'm still on. All right, well, it's Italy, whatever. I mean, there's you name it, there was where it was. I'm literally using my head off reading the book I read about the Russian soldiers, the American soldiers, whereas they sold their souls. The women sold their bodies to get money. It wasn't just Italy. Maybe Italy is the U.S. Maybe friggin' France was Russia. I don't know. Germany. Germany certainly had Russians in there. So just, pardon my ineptitude. Anyway, so at the end of the day, you just simply, depression is always bad. And the modern monetary theorists, my concern would be though, is that they want to use that for the Green New Deal, which is inherently depressionary. That's going to kill everything for sure. So, Vic, don't worry too much about inflation. We'll worry about that some other time. Right now, I'm worried about deflation. I'm worried about depression, and it's coming. It's scary. All right. So for you, new wannabe financial advisors, get this book right here. The New Financial Advisor by Nick Murray. This literally changed my life. I don't think I had him sign it, no. But you want to get this and you want to subscribe to Nick Murray's newsletter, Nick Murray Interactive, I think. You want to subscribe to his newsletter for sure. But this is literally, I just went through my attic, I was cleaning it out. I put a couple bookshelves up there and I found some old books I haven't read from a long time. So, all right. Let's keep going. Not worry about inflation. All right, so let's talk about if we go to a depression, what works in depression? All right, so if inflation is bad for fixed income, which it is. Remember, your income is fixed, but it's fixed, but inflation is slowly taking away your asset base. Inflation is the enemy of fixed income. Depression, fixed income is very, very valuable. All right, so if you think about it like this, inflationary stuff is so anyone who owns bonds in fixed income, bonds in inflationary time, are later on down the road are benefiting it because the value of those bonds are losing, or anyone who owns bonds are losing out because the value of those bonds declines with inflation. I hope that makes sense. So again, you have a fixed income, all right? The income is fixed. The fixed dollar value of the debt is fixed. But every day, inflation is slowly eating away at that fixed value. And so you're losing money. It's a hidden tax. Now, on top of that, I own a bond by this mortgage. I mean, my mortgage company owns a bond on me. They own me a bond. They loan me, $300,000 to buy my home. All right, so they loan me $300,000 to buy my home. I am paying it on a monthly basis for 360 payments. All right, it's a fixed rate. I'm paying them back. All right, so now during inflationary times, the bond owner, the mortgage owner, is the same thing. They literally own a bond, loses out in the long run because that value of the bond depreciates as inflation kicks in. Well, so that's good for me, bad for them. It's completely counter that in deflationary at times. Deflationary times, the bond holders make out like a freaking rat fink. The debtors get crushed because it takes more and more income to pay the debt back. And so debt is bad no matter what, but even worse in deflationary, especially depressionary times. Debt is bad because the value of the dollar is growing each and every year, which means you have to come up with more and more valuable dollars to pay that same amount of debt back. It's a 180-degree turn. The value of the dollar, man, is, if we go into a depressionary construct, the people in debt are gonna be a world of hurt, man. First, not gonna be jobs. 25% unemployment during FDR, by the way. Everyone kisses FDR's butt. He had 25% unemployment, right? That wasn't during Ronald Reagan, all right? That wasn't during Calvin Coolidge. That was during FDR. Anyway, and so what happens is 25% unemployment, the economy is declining. If you have debt, the Mr. Potter, remember the Mr. Potter guy, where are you going to find that money to pay him? The money becomes more and more valuable, which means your debt becomes more and more expensive to carry. So that's if you're in debt. Now, if you're an investor, owning fixed income accounts in a depressionary model is freaking awesome. That's what you want. The value of your investments rise as the value of everything else drops. So a dollar bill buys a loaf of bread today. Tomorrow, in deflationary times, a dollar bill buys a loaf of bread and a piece of gum. 2 days, a dollar bill buys a loaf of bread, a piece of gum, and a pack of smokes. You see what I'm saying? That same dollar buys more and more in deflationary times, depressionary times in particularly. So anything that's fixed, CDs, fixed rate bonds, cash, are very, very valuable in a depressionary, deflationary time for sure. Now, I would not mess with corporate bonds at this point. No way, no how. I'm telling you, my friends. Everyone, a guy, I forgot who it was, a good guy. He goes, man, he commented on a YouTube channel. He said, if the market goes haywire and we're all going down to zero, it won't matter what financial assets you own. Is literally going to be bread and bullets at that point. You see what I'm saying? I said, I could not agree more. Again, if the market goes to zero, where the stock market is decimated to nothing, as a lot of these naysayers think, I don't care if you own bonds. I don't care if you own treasury bonds. I don't care. There is nothing left. The U.S. economy is contingent on this quasi-capitalistic market. I'll make sure I'm still on here. All right, cool. Anyway, so I mean, you got to look at it like this. Are you in stocks? Yes. I mean, you're in stocks. Why? Because you think they're going to grow more than the rate of inflation and more than the cost of your living. The cost of living and taxes. That doesn't change. Oh, thanks, babe. That, just because the market gets hammered doesn't change. You still buy stocks because of that. Well, I think the stocks should go to zero. Well, heaven forbid that you own anything at that point. I mean, I'm sorry, if the stock market goes to zero, everything except your little whole cash is worthless at that point. And bonds aren't worth anything. So I don't get people say, I'm not going to buy stocks and go buy corporate bonds. That makes no sense. That's never really made much sense to me. I always say, look, if you're going to buy stocks, you buy stocks because you think the corporations can make enough money to grow their profit margins, their dividends. You buy bonds because you think the corporations can make enough money to pay the servicing of the debt. Well, what's going to give you more upside? Well, stocks. Well, the corporation's got to make enough money on both sides. So might as well own stocks. But if you buy bonds because you're worried about the risk of owning corporate America, well, that's fine. But don't buy corporate bonds, buy government bonds, because government bonds, they can print their way out of debt. That's a fact. We know this. It might be inflationary. I mean, right now, it's the least of my concerns. Or just buy CDs. At least a CD at the bank, you know for a fact that's guaranteed up to 250,000 bucks. Anyway, so don't buy corporate bonds. I don't get it. And there's certainly corporate bonds are certainly not a safe haven. That is funny. I haven't looked into the golden butterfly thing, but I saw the price of gold begin hammered too. I just haven't looked. The golden butterfly, the reason I don't follow that much, or the permanent portfolio, because the price of gold was manipulated for so many years because FDR made it illegal to own it. So it was only until 1973 where you could finally own it. So we don't really have a price mechanism to determine what gold has done previously. We just don't know. But I know gold has fallen off 20, 25% or something like that in the last few weeks, just like everything else has. So I don't know what the golden butterfly has done. I know the long-term bonds have got crushed too. Now that's after a nice run, but I know over the last few weeks the government bonds have got crushed. But at least the government bonds, they're not going to go bankrupt. But I think the golden butterfly is stocks, bonds, cash, and gold, if I'm not mistaken. I think, and the only thing that has done anything in that regard is cash. Corporate bonds got killed. Treasuries got killed, golds got killed, stocks got killed. There's been no reprieve. And so people say, I'm going to diversify. Man, when the market's getting killed, everything is highly correlated. Everything is highly correlated. The only thing that's a safe haven, and even we're witnessing is not a safe haven for price volatility, is government bonds and CDs. CDs are literally the only thing that's worth it, in my opinion. Or Ginnie Mae. I mean, Ginnie Mae hasn't gotten killed. Let's just look at old Ginnie Mae, shall we? You look at VFI. Oh, good boy. Oops. Let's look at Ginnie Mae. How many people we got here? All right, good. We got a pretty good turnout. I appreciate it. I thought I might lose a lot of people. VFIIX. So Ginnie Mae, there's the thing. So this is, so it went from 1073 to 1053 is down, or 1051 is down basically 21 cents in that sell-off there. 21 cents, that's about 1.8%. And so that's what makes Ginnie Mae so wonderful, is that you can see it just, that little bit of a reprieve, that's nothing, man. That's just nothing. And if you look at the 2-year, let's look at the 5-year. The worst it did was at the end of 2018, Ginnie Mae fell from 1066 to 1022. So it fell 3% at the end of 2018. That's not a big deal, in my opinion. So anyway, if I have bonds, I want Ginnie Mae, I want cash, I want CDs. That's it. I don't want any corporate bonds. What's PFF? I haven't looked at preferred stocks. I'm a big fan of PFF. Ooh, yeah, that got, wow, man, that did get crushed. Oops. Oh, well, not as bad as I thought. Yeah, that's preferred stocks, PFF. And so that went down from, what's that, 38 to 26, it looks like, to 23, 24 and a half. So basically went down from 38 to 24. Not quite 38. So what is that? That's 14. That went down. That went down 37%. So preferred stocks didn't give you any reprieve either, because they're a stock, even though they're less risky than the regular stocks. But anyway, that's PFF. So there was no reprieve, man. Nothing. Everything got hammered. No other way around that. Let's take a look. We don't want to look at BND. That's the bond index, and the reason is because 70% of that is government bonds and mortgage-backed securities. Let's look at USAIX. I haven't looked at this for a while. This is that's the USA Income Fund. That's corporate bonds, some government bonds in there, and that went down from 14 to 1260 right now to 1265. So that went down from 14, so 1265. hold on just a second. That's a $1.35 by, oops, $1.35 divided by 14. That's, down 9.6%. So that's actually not so bad. No, but I mean, how many people expected bonds to go down to the same, in the double digits while stocks are getting hammered? I don't know. All right, let's see what else we got here, man. Resale rabbit. We fought the bad silence you. All right, so here's my man Larry. I just retired in February. I'm 55. Had old B. I have BB in my 403B. I don't know what that is. 2/3 are in fixed interest. I don't know what BB is, man. Basketball. I don't get what that is. I'm 50. I have old BB. I have BB, 175 in my 403B, of which 2/3 are in fixed interest. Thought I was out to buy toilet paper. Oh yeah, so that's what I was gonna say. So Mike, about the stimulus income. Someone said I was hooking up an inverter by car battery. So if they're placing this on an income, AGI, it's the freaking stupidest thing you can do. So I read one thing, it's gonna be based on your 2018 income. Well, if you're a small business owner in 2008 and you made freaking crazy money because the market was doing good, you had all kinds of customers, but you're the one that suffered right now because the market isn't doing good anymore. There's no one coming to your store. By nature of the law, you could literally go to jail. I mean, I look at those people over at the Q barbecue where I got today. They literally cannot have people in there. And so there's no one there. No one's dead. But they kicked butt and took names in 2018. So to say, you made all this money in 2018, you're not going to get a stimulus, that's freaking stupid, man. I mean, do not any of these guys know how business works? How small business works? Every year is different. They might have made money, kicked butt, took names in 2018. They might have given a whole bunch of bonuses. They might not, I mean, whatever they did. But you can't now say, well, you made too much money in 2018, so 2 years later, we're not going to give you any money, even though we've mandated that you can't open your business. Just give it to everybody. I wonder too if old Jeff Bezos is still going to give his $15 billion to the freaking green activist that who's going to support. Why is it Jeff? Look, Jeff Bezos can spend his money any way he wants. I don't care. I don't like the idea of getting a tax deduction or a state tax deduction, if nothing else, of giving it to a charity. But anyway, why does that old Jeff Bezos give it to, instead of the green activists overseas, why doesn't he give some American workers, huh? I mean, he's so quick to cut checks for $15 billion to NGOs, non-government organizations overseas, who could rabble rouse to get us to be more green. Well, now we got a whole bunch of Americans who could use that 15 billion, Jeff. Be my guest, brother. Start cutting checks. Yeah, hypocrites. Anyway, so the stimulus should just be if you, I mean, literally, you got a social security number, you get the money. That is. Bill B says, I'm worried about government heavy-handedness. Exactly. That's my concern about the president. The president. I completely agree. Just wait. Just wait. All right. Yeah, Carl said, I'm worried about potential deflation. Yeah, me too, man. Me too. Why not use a hardwired device? What did we try? I had to get the, the freaking, this doesn't take hardwire. This Mac laptop I have, this MacBook Air, the Ethernet thing, it doesn't take it. It's only, I have a Chromebook and it's MacBook Air. It doesn't take the hardwire. Yeah, cable never fails. Trust me. I got a guy here in Georgia. If he's on here, he knows I've talked about. He's been in the cable industry since its inception, in the infancy. It's actually pretty funny. Scott says, we never had to deal with a pandemic that affected it like this. Yeah, I agree. Everyone's home everywhere on the internet, so the internet might be overloaded. Yeah. All right, so what's going to recover faster, U.S., Europe, or Asia? Well, it's going to be the U.S., man. Just because we're freaking awesome. How dare you? How dare you Well, our lives are at stake because the U.S. is better. We are. I mean, look at Europe, man. Come on, that's a dying continent. It doesn't mean you people in Europe are bad. Doesn't mean they're evil. Doesn't mean anything like that. But they're so used to big daddy government of the U.S. protecting them for the last since World War II that they've lost a lot of their capitalistic ways. They just have. And we have the entrepreneurs, we got the skill set, we got the deregulation. They don't have it there, man. I mean, Europe's a great place. You want to go and sip coffee and not have to worry about too much. I think that's freaking awesome. I think it has a lot of appeal. I know a couple guys that go to Portugal, Spain, whatnot, just going to live off, just chickens running around. I think there's a lot to be said for that, without question. But when it comes to financial markets and economic growth, Europe can't hold the candle to us, man. No way, no way, Jose. I just look at read my man John Waters from Ireland, who says, give us back our old roads. I mean, they're looking for the time when it was more of a community feel where everyone's kind of equal. I think that's great. That's not the way it is in the United States, but it's not. I mean, I grew up on an island, man. I grew up on an island off the coast of Maine. Basically everybody's poor. And it's kind of, you never knew you were poor until you went into town. And you got to see, oh, there are other people. These people actually have cars, cable TV. I was like, oh, that's crazy. We never knew that. I mean, we kind of knew it. Don't get me wrong, but you didn't know that because everyone's poor. You don't know you're poor, and then you go into town. You're like, oh, people live like this. That's kind of cool. But I mean, anyway, what I'm saying, there's something to be said about going back to the past, or as more of a community where everyone just kind of gathered in Central Square. But those are not likely to come back. At least not the good old U.S. of A. Oops, I just messed myself up here. Hold on just a second. So I think we're going to come back first, bar none. Oops, there we go. And I'm proud of that for sure. The question is how much, like somebody said about the heavy-handedness of the government. That's what scares me. I would say what I think. I again, I'm going to go on a limb again and say I think we bottomed out. I really do. And oh my goodness, Josh, you said that the other day. I did. You're never going to call it to the day. Hell, freaking Robert Shiller didn't call it to the day in his book Irrational Exuberance. But I personally think that a 33%, this is just me. Don't buy stock based on what I'm saying. I just personally think a 33% decline is forward looking. It recognizes people like Goldman Sachs and stuff saying a 24% potential GDP fall. And because that's already been priced. Now, I literally could be wrong. I do. But if I had cash on the side and I don't need that money, I got 3 to 5 years of cash and government bonds and CDs, I'm buying. That's all there is to it. I'm buying. Because just like what I was just saying, if you think the stock market will always be low and go worse, then get out now, man. It just doesn't make any sense to me. But if you look historically, and I hate to say historically, there's not much evidence you can use on that, but you use what you can. I mean, you say historically, when the markets get hammered, they come back around after, but they come back around before it seems like the doom and gloom has dispersed. March 9th, 2009, only one guy out there who I knew, Brian Westbury from First Trust Advisors, said this will be the start of something big. And the reason he said that was because Barney Frank was holding the conference committee meeting on the mark-to-market accounting rules. And Barney Frank said, this isn't good. This is creating illiquid markets that don't need to be created. Why don't we look at this and maybe get rid of that? And I'll never forget Brian Westbury talking to Hugh Hewitt. He said that. I'm telling you right now, no one thought, oh, yeah, you're right, Brian, that makes sense. No one thought that. In hindsight, he was 100% right. So what I think is that at the end of the day, I think more and more, I do believe more and more people of right consciousness who aren't fear mongers are starting to percolate. I see it. And again, maybe it's just the people I watch and stuff, but I don't think so. I think the people like Clay Travis of the world who've been waving the flag of sanity, but there's just starting to be more and more people who are saying this is over the top, man. I mean, it's just over the top. And because of that, I think initially it's easy to get browbeaten and be bullied to say, you better shut up. How dare you? 1.1 million people are going to die according to the best estimates. And I think you're initially saying, huh? But then you start diving deep into the research, like, what do we base that on? Huh? Some freaking clowns but they're scientists. Yeah. What is it with this freaking, in the anti-Christian methodology, they call it the appeal to authority. Here's the good book. It's in the Bible. Thus it has to be true. And that's my authority. And look, man, that's not a good argument against people who are searchers. They're not. You can't say it's in this book right here, thus believe all. That's not what people need to hear who are agnostic or searching, because that doesn't say anything. That's an appeal to authority. Where you say, I don't know why that is. I just trust God. That's great. I get that, but that's an appeal to authority. That's fine if you're a believer. It's not fine for people who are searching. And the issue is with science, as if the scientists have never made any mistakes and make no mistakes and are all knowing. That's what scares me more than anything. This appeal to a technocratic science, quote, scientific government, which is what the liberals want. They do not want rabble rousers. They do not want people with independent thought. They want it to be based on science because they can control the science. Science can be controlled. The idea that a biologist who says there are two genders is going to lose his or her job. This isn't science. This is politics. It's politics. But they get to say, well, maybe it is science. No, it's full of crap. And we all know this. But yet the bullies have had the mic in this regard for about 3 weeks. And I think more and more people are starting to say, yeah, let's look a little bit deeper into this. But sadly, it's not the scientists per se who are to be blamed. It's the journalists and their followers who don't read anything, who just follow the headlines. They say the science says climate change because of CO2. You're like, that's literally not what it says. Scientists do not, but there's not 97% consensus in science. It's simply not true. Science says, a Harvard medical doctor says 55% of all bankruptcies are caused by health-related issues. They can't pay their bills. It's literally not what it says, not what the research says. Science says that there's no risk to giving your children and infants 20 doses of CDC recommended vaccines. There's no science that says that. That's not true. And if you read what they say, you actually read it, if you take the time to read it, you're like, that's not what it says. But it doesn't say that at all. It doesn't say that at all. And so because of that, we have this aura of the mainstream media and their followers that say, we want to look at this appeal to authority of science. And the loudest scientists out there, the what's his name up, Noam Chomsky's of the world, the browbeating bullies of the world who somehow control the narrative. Everybody else just bows down and says, I didn't come into science to be a freaking politician. I came into science to do quality research. I'm not gonna mess with that guy. I'll let him go on his own way. And next thing you know, if you don't follow what they tell you to do, you're out with a job. Look at Judith Curry at Georgia Tech. Judith Curry, who literally wrote the book on thermodynamics. All right, Judith freaking Curry was put out to pasture because Georgia Tech had no guts to back her up because she did not fall hook, line, and sinker for the climate change doomsdayers. Judith Curry, a woman in STEM who literally wrote the book on thermodynamics at Georgia Tech. Even this isn't University of Georgia, Georgia Tech. She got browbeaten to the point where I got to resign. There's no freaking, academic freedom, my freaking butt. Judith Curry, she's a scientist, but she doesn't have the right science. I'm telling you, man, all these people, the scientists say, no, they don't. They don't say that. No. Some scientists do. Some do, some don't. That's what scares me more than anything, is this appeal to authority through the science, as if the science is was determined by the people who got the biggest bullies and got the biggest freaking mouths. And it's scary. It's scary. Bill Nye, he's not even a scientist. This guy out here, what's that guy, Bill McKibben? I don't know what I literally don't care. The biggest bullies. And they're bullies because I don't read Twitter, but I follow Twitchy, and they show you these idiots and their freaking tweets that they do. And you're sitting there thinking, these people are nuts. Anyway. All right, so Nancy says, I'm heavy in company stock, which has taken too much of a hit. Man, would you look at is WMT the company stock? Yeah, I don't know, Nancy. I don't know. I guess is that waste management? I don't know. I don't know what to tell you. I just I guess we could look at I hate to even do this now because it's hindsight, but let's look at WMT. It's Walmart. Okay, excuse me. Yes. So they got PE ratio of 21. I thought it was waste management. So Walmart. Oh yeah, Walmart's gonna be making bucks here. And Walmart's not getting killed that much, Nancy. I don't know. Yeah, man, Walmart. It's not. What are you talking about? Walmart's not. No, Walmart's not getting killed here at all. I mean, in February it's trading at 116. Now it's trading at 114. Come on, man. This not getting killed. Oh, Walmart was trading at 120 in December. Now it's trading at one. That's nothing. Yeah, I mean, I think if anything, the lesson to be learned here is that don't be heavy in your company's stock, but I don't think you have any reason to panic at that at all. I mean, think about it. In August 2019, Walmart is trading at 112. After this insanity, Walmart is trading at 13.95. So you're up $2 from August of 2019. That doesn't seem to be a big hit at all. But like Cute Humor says, Walmart is going to be making bank in this pandemic. I agree. No doubt taxes are going to have to go up very soon. I completely did. Yeah, right on. I agree with that. Vinyl Earth Link says, why? Why did taxes have to go up? What that would make no sense at all, man. Raise taxes while you're trying to stimulate the economy. Even the Democrats, the modern monetary theorists, even say tax cuts are a stimulus. They don't like it, but because they don't want us to have more freedom. But the tax cuts are literally a stimulus, without question. Walmart employees only. Yeah, did you hear that Cuomo had a chance? I just reading to get all these like 75,000 ventilators a few years ago or last year or something like that. Instead, he diverted that $1 billion to a PV solar photovoltaic array in Buffalo. Yeah. What starts to look insane now is how focused we were on the 53 different genders. The solar, what starts to look nuts, all this freaking money, and yet somehow Trump is to blame. I just find that funny. Moon says taxes will go up and the federal government will be reduced to Homeland Defense and entitlement payments even after the haircut. I got no qualm with that, Moon. I mean, I don't like the taxes going up, but the federal government reduced to Homeland Defense and entitlement payments, I'm okay with that. How are you going to pay for the stimulus? Well, you pay for it by issuing freaking money. That's how you pay for it. I mean, literally, we have $20 trillion in debt already. And actually, if you take in the unfunded liabilities of Social Security, Medicare, and Medicaid, and whatever off-budget money they spend, which is nuts, we have a hell of a lot more than $20 trillion in debt, and yet inflation is non-issue. It's non-issue. And they'll say, but the debt to GDP. Well, debt to GDP in Japan is 240%, and they had a negative 6.5% deflation in the last quarter of Q4 2019. They've had debt to GDP ratio well above us for years, and they have had no inflation. None. So you have to show evidence. I mean, you got to show the evidence that there's hyperinflation coming because of government spending. We got to see it because I haven't looked at Mexico and Argentina. My inclination is that's more of government policy leading towards socialism rather than somewhat of a quasi-capitalist. And if you can't say the Weimar Republic, that was not because of freaking inflation, hyperspending. We all know what that was, the Versailles treatment. You can't say Venezuela. You can't say, where do I have my Zimbabwe $1 trillion bill? I don't know what I have my Zimbabwe $1 trillion bill here. I put it someplace. Anyway, certainly Mugabe wasn't a capitalist. You just can't say it. So I mean, at the end of the day, show me where hyperinflation exists. They're just, we had the South Latin America in the 80s. We have $20 trillion in debt now, hell of a lot more than that when we factor in everything else. And yet we have no inflation to speak of, none. So I'm not worried about it. Let's see. Can't spend now because they're shutting the country down. Well, that's the problem, Scott 62. You can't spend now because they're shutting the country down. So they're going to give us a stimulus. What are we going to do? Does everybody buy Amazon stuff? We want the people to frequent restaurants and bars. Remember that whole reason why we pay huge amounts of money for Major League Baseball, NFL stadiums, whatnot, NHL and NBA? Is because of all the goodwill, all the economic growth it creates, which is fake. That's all bullcrap too. But the whole point was it creates assets because now we have all these restaurants and bars propping up, which helps the economy. Yeah. Well, if you want to help the economy, open up the freaking bars and restaurants, man. But Josh, aren't you worried about coronavirus? No, I'm not. Sorry, I'm not. Not none the least. All right, my man says, just add another 5K to my fun account. Yep. A bearish death cross pattern has appeared in the Dow Jones Industrial Average charts. All right, okay. I don't know anything about bearish death cross. The fundamental, technical analysis never did anything for me. But by all means, man, I mean, sell or short. I got no call with that. Math prevails over politics. Eventually, the alternative is a U.S. government default and or devaluation of the fiat of the U.S. dollar. Sure. I mean, I'm looking for the evidence. Where is it? Where's the evidence? If the inverted yield curve predicted the recession, it took the virus to start the bear market. And the funny thing is, the inverted yield curve did not predict the recession. That's what's funny, because the yield curve inverted well over 12 months ago. I actually agree with Vinyl Earthlink here. You can't do technical analysis when the market is driven by external events. I completely agree with that, actually. I think a lot of technical where were the technical analysis when the coronavirus came? Just the whole thing. I mean, there's always external shocks, man. The technical analysis did not recognize the external shock of the oil crisis of 73 and 74. They didn't recognize it. So where were the technical analysis? That's the thing. They cannot predict external shocks. And what causes things like this is external shocks. September 11, 2001. That was an external shock that no one predicted. No one predicted it. You could easily sit there and say the PE ratios, the pets.com and the PE was too high in 2000. That's fine. Absolutely. But you have to say it was high in 1999, 1998 as well. Irrational exuberance. Remember, Greenspan said irrational exuberance, and when? 1995. The Dow was at 3,000, 1995. That's when he said irrational exuberance. Yet the market went up from 1995 to 2000 and to March of 2000. The NASDAQ hit 5,000 in March of 2000. I think it was March 2nd of 2000. So no one sat there at the beginning of 2000 and said, we're doomed. Because the first quarter of the first 2 months of 2000, the market still went up. Huge. So no one sat there. I mean, it's just the whole thing with the rational exuberance, whatnot. Greenspan said that in 1995 when the Dow was at 3,000. Now, the PE ratios in hindsight were way over the top for that sector of the economy, but it wasn't over the top for dividend stocks. Wellington did great in 2000. I mean, it was up like 9%. All right. 2000. What did Wellington do in 2000? Bear with me just a second. Wellington. Let's see. Let's look. Let's go to see what Wellington did. Let's share. All right, we're going to share my screen. Let's take a gander at what Wellington did in 2000. So let's go to Wellington right here. Hope y'all can see this. And Wellington in 2000, and let's take a look. So 73, 74, Wellington was down 11% and 17%. What is this right here? I can't remember what the S&P 500 did. But anyway, that's a lot less on the S&P 500. Wellington 73 and 74, but still pretty bad. You know, it's 30%. But let's go to 2000. In 2000, Wellington was up 10.4 in 2000. The S&P 500 was down 9. In 2001, Wellington was up 4.19. S&P 500 was down 12. In 2002, Wellington was down 6.9. S&P 500 was down 22% because the large cap growth stocks got crumbled. So if you said irrational exuberance, you were right for the tech stuff, but you weren't right on dividend stocks, not in the least. You just weren't. And so how many people said, they're saying in hindsight, we knew we called the bottom. Well, you didn't call the bottom for Wellington. It did great. It lost 6.9% in 2002. In the following year, it gained all that freaking a huge amount, 20.75%. So many people sit there and say, oh man, look what happened. And they just, I hate to say it, but they missed that. They did not call the bear market of 2000 because the bear market only affected a small little segment of the market. It did not affect everything. It just didn't, because the only thing that grew like a freaking weed was the tech stocks with huge PE ratios. I was at Vanguard. I'll never forget it. 1998, 1999, fielding 100 to 120 calls a day. People wanted the head of Windsor Neff was the guy, John Neff, I think is his name, because he was buying high quality dividend stocks and he was putting along, getting 10, 11%, 8, 10, 12%, something like that. And they want him fired because U.S. growth was the fund that was doing well. Everybody wanted U.S. growth. I mean, look, I literally fielded these calls. Why is Neff should be fired? He needs to go more tech. Blah, blah, blah. Janus threw all into tech. Janus mutual funds. They had the first-hand funds. Remember them too? Janus. They went all tech all the time, and they were the cat's meow for a long time. And then kaboom, they lost everything. And that's what happens when you follow the leaders, as opposed to just buying stocks that have growth potential. They're making money, and again, I would say paying a dividend. Now, Berkshire Hathaway doesn't. I get it. They don't pay dividends. I get it. But they're paying employees, right? I mean, hell, there's still somebody's getting salary from there because Berkshire Hathaway literally owns those companies. And so they're paying out. They're just not paying to shareholders, but they're paying out to employees because Berkshire Hathaway owns it. And so they're getting dividends from the companies via the cash transactions, and they're just using those to reinvest. I got no qualm with that. I still like dividends because I think dividends are a sign of a company being somewhat well run. And it gives you something to hang your hat on when the markets get killed like this. Actually, what is Berkshire doing here? I haven't looked. Let's take a look. Has anyone seen what Berkshire is doing lately? BRK. So it's down. Let's do the Class B share. It's easier to figure out. All right, so BRK was at 231, and now it's down to 168. 231 to 168, which means, 231 minus 168 divided by 231 minus 168 equals divided by 231. Berkshire Hathaway is down 27%, so just like everything else. Anyway, so I agree with the Vinyl Earth link there for sure. All right, hey Scott, why worry about debt if you have no intention of paying it back? What I would do if I was a government, I'd issue a perpetual bonds. I've said this before. I'd make it like a preferred stock. A preferred stock is just literally a perpetual bond, essentially. I mean, it pays a dividend as opposed to an interest. But I'd say, look, we're going to issue, we're going to pay you 2% as long as whoever owns this will get 2% a year forever, literally forever. There'll be no maturity. I mean, you can make a 50-year maturity, something like that. I don't care. But you say no maturity, we're just going to pay you. It doesn't matter, though, because who owns our debt? It's us. We own it. That's the whole point. The idea that, and who was I listening to the other day? What's that guy? I love the guy, the Indian guy. For Pete or something like that. Minority Mindset guy. And I like the guy. I like his channel. He was wrong on whole life insurance. I did notice that, but I like his channel. I like the way he thinks. I'm a fan of his. Verpete, something like that. But anyway, he was wrong when he said that if we can't get China and Japan to buy our debt, we can't, we won't be able to borrow any money. No. China and Japan don't own anything compared to what we own ourselves. That's just a fact. We own the money to ourselves. I mean, it's literally, it's all fake math here. It's all fake accounting. It's over here. Now it's over here. The computer screen moves it. China and Japan own some, don't get me wrong, but why does China loan us the money to begin with? Well, they loan us the money so we can turn around and buy their goods. So they get the goods back, they get the cash, which they loan us back to it. I mean, it's this ongoing circle. It's not rocket science here. China says, here's the money. We're going to borrow money from you, U.S. Instead, we're going to take that money that China borrowed from us. We're going to use that money to buy imports from China because cheap labor, because they have slave labor. And then China's going to get that money back from us, and they're going to loan it back to us again so we can keep that cycle going. I mean, come on. Where's China going to go? They're going to go to freaking Italy, which they were trying to do, by the way. Again, as I said at the beginning of this, China had a big, I forgot what it was a big pending port authority, essentially, in, I want to say Normandy or something like that, up in northern Italy, which has been inundated with coronavirus. And they had tons of people living there and all that. It's crazy. Remember, China also had the communist YouTube channel, the communist government, hug a Chinese to show you're not racist, right when the beginning of the Italy crisis happened. sad, man, sad. And it's sad. And I found something else too is interesting. Some like 98%, and again, if it's less than 98, maybe it's 93, but significant amount of the people in Italy who had died as of yesterday, I haven't looked today, had serious other conditions, diabetes, respiratory issues, and things of that nature as well. Never mind being old. And I mean, that's the same thing happens with the flu. If you get pneumonia, why have all these other issues? You're done. You're done. There's no other way around that. It's amazing that every asset class has tanks, bond stocks. Bonds are not holding up either. It's cash out everything, right? It's not cash out everything. That would imply that you're cashing out everything. And I would say you'd be crazy to do that unless you literally think the market is going to continue down. If you do, then you should cash out, my friends. Look, don't let my theories dictate to you what to do with your money. I had a guy the other day said he couldn't sleep at night. Dude, if you can't sleep at night, cash out, be done with it. Take your humps or your lumps. You're still up. I mean, let me just show you something, my friends. If we go to VFINX, all right, so let's go to the S&P 500, all right, over 2 years. All right, so here we are. You can see the S&P 500. This is over 5 years. And so you can see right there is 2018. And then we're right here right now. So if you scroll over, we are right where we were at 2017. So 2 years has gone. You've lost any gains from 2 years, but you are where you were 2 years ago. You are where you were 2 years ago when everyone even back then was saying the market was too high. The market was too high. I mean, you've given back 2 years of growth. You're not destitute. You're not. In fact, I'd even argue you're probably ahead of where you were 2 years ago because you've probably been put money in. I don't get this whole thing that I got crushed. Yeah, you're down 30%, but you're up, what, 35% since then, since the 2017. So you're just right back to where you're in 2017. That's the nature of a bear market. You usually lose about 2 years of your earnings. And so it sucks, but you're not down to 2008 numbers. I mean, come on. Now, could it continue to go? Sure, but we've never seen that right there. This right here has never happened ever in the history. Look at that. That's freaking nuts. It could go down. Absolutely. I don't think it will, but it certainly could. I could be wrong. All right, so now we're back to 2015 numbers. Well, that sucks, right? Well, I mean, all right, then if you think that's likely to happen, then get out. Stop the bleeding. I get it. If you can't sleep at night, get out. I would never recommend that. I can't recommend that because I don't believe in that. I sit there, I think, Walmart is down. What's Costco doing? Let's just take a gander, shall we? Let's look at, what's Costco's ticker? Costco. All right, so, I mean, come on. Costco's down freaking 325 to, what was that? Hold on just a second. That's that. There we go. So Costco is down from 325 to 290. So Costco's down 325 to 290, 35 on 325. So 35 divided by 325. Costco's down 10%. Wow. Do you literally think Costco, Walmart, all these other concerns, the trucking companies are going out of business? I mean, look, if you do, then get out. Look, I'm not going to fault you. I'm not going to fault you. But this is just like in 2000. The big companies that were highly profitable, were making money, did just fine. As I just showed you with Wellington, is the companies that weren't profitable, that had no earnings at all, that got hammered and they went out of business, Pets.com and so many others for sure. But there are companies that are still making money and they're still sold, traded publicly in the stock exchange, which means you own a share in those companies and you'll probably go there tomorrow to stock up on toilet paper. So is Procter & Gamble going kaput? Johnson, who's it makes Kleenex? I don't know what Kleenex is. No, they're not. These companies aren't going anywhere, for heaven's sake. So I just sit there and think, okay, so some companies are getting hammered. Yep, I get that. I haven't even seen what is driving the decline of the S&P 500. I don't know, it might be Apple. I just don't know. Might be Amazon. Actually, let's take a look at Amazon. I wonder what Amazon stock's done. Hold on just a second. I would think Amazon would be very profitable. I'm not going to use them. What? Maybe Apple. Let's take a look. So Apple's down from 327 down to 229. So Apple's down about 33%. So there you go. Because I think Apple is one of the biggest constituents of the S&P 500, if not the biggest. I think it was. No. Anyway, so if you think the stock market has no place to go other than down to kaput, there's absolutely no reason that you should not get some chickens and goats, in my opinion. But be that as it may, look, I don't want to convince you to do what you don't want to do. I'm not here to convince anyone to do anything. I am here to say cooler heads are going to prevail, and when they do, it's going to come back. It might take a while. It might take another year. Hell, it might take a year and a half too. I don't know. But at the ultimate day, the capitalistic society is not going away. You're still going to have entrepreneurs. You're still going to have small businesses. You're still going to have Costco. You're still going to have Walmart. You're still going to have Johnson & Johnson. You're still going to be able to buy Amazon. You're still going to have freaking Zoom. I read, actually, here's Nancy who works at Walmart, I guess. Companies are bulking up their deliveries, should be getting better. I want to point out something. I cannot stress this enough. Let me show you something here. I'm going to share this. I read this to you yesterday, but the audio is horrible. So I want to share this with you here real quick. Let's go to, hide that. We're going to go to the, right here. So this is going back to what Nancy said yesterday. Stay home, be a good citizen. That's pretty funny. This is Conservative Treehouse. I can stand her. Let's bear with me just a second. Andrew Cuomo is making an appeal for his 2020 run. All right, hold on just a second. Fourth Sunday of Lent. Bear with me just a second. Hold on. Yeah, Dr. Fauci, by the way, had written a love letter to Hillary Clinton back in 2013. I'm always skeptical of the good doctor. The fact that everyone thinks he's like the cat's meow scares me for sure. I don't trust him as far as I can kick him. I'm not going to lie to you. Right here. Pennsylvania Turnpike reopens closed service stations to support truckers. Math is math. It doesn't take a rocket scientist to do the math to understand the logistics of the current extreme demand, recognizing that fixed assets are limited, and realize if you shut down essential services for truckers, the total supply chain will suffer. On March 17th, Pennsylvania shuttered all turnpike service plazas in response to coronavirus. However, the commie virus. However, the decision was ridiculously short-sighted as long-haul and regional truckers depended on fuel stations. Who knew? We just thought it just show up. We don't need trucks or truckers. Heaven forbid. The Primus song about those blue-collar truckers. I don't know if you ever listened to Primus. It's a great song. Heaven forbid there's someone actually moves product so I can get my caviar. I don't even know what rich people in New York City eat. What do rich people in New York City eat? I don't know what it is, but they're getting it shipped from someplace, and it's from some trucker with a baseball hat and probably a tattoo right here. It might be a little bit overweight. He's the guy who brings it to you, and he might even talk with a southern accent. Oh, heaven forbid. Anyway, thankfully, Pennsylvania officials realized their error and reopened the service stations yesterday. So that's good, man. So that's good. All 17 closed service stations are set to reopen on Friday, according to a news release from the Pennsylvania Turnpike Commission. I wonder if you heard about that, because we need to get the products moved. And so going back to I think this is interesting. The food production chain right here. You got production from the farms, from the boats, from the moo cows, goes to processing, distribution. It goes to the restaurant and to retail. You can see there's two different supply lines. One is to your eat at home consumers, you and I, and everybody now. And the other is eat away from home consumers right here. You got this fork in the road. You got restaurants, restaurant preparation, and restaurant consumer. Retail, the grocery store, home preparation, what my wife just did tonight, and what I do out in the grill. I have tons of propane. So I want to show you this because I think this is important. You can read all this right here in terms of how many the logistics behind getting ramping this demand up. I want to show you something. Hold on just a second. Hold on. I wanted to show right here. All right. Most consumers are not aware food consumption in the US is now a 50-50 proposition. Approximately 50% of all food was consumed outside the home or food away from home, and 50% of all consumed was inside the home, grocery shoppers. Food outside the home includes restaurants, fast food, schools, corporate cafeterias, university lunchrooms, manufacturing cafeterias, hotels, food trucks, park and amusement food sellers, and many more. Many of those venues are not thought about when people evaluate the overall US food delivery system. However, this network has approximately 50% of all food consumption on a daily basis. The food away from home sector has its own supply chain. As we go back here, we'll see the supply chain for the food away from home sector right here. See, it starts here at the moo cow plant, it goes to processing, goes to distribution, and then from distribution, it takes this fork in the road. All right, so let's keep reading. I think this is critically important. As a result of the commie virus mitigation effort, the food away from home sector has been reduced by half of daily food delivery options, possibly more. I would say it's actually more now. However, people still need to eat. That means that retail food outlets, grocers, are seeing sales increase 25 to 50% depending on the area. This, along with some panic shopping, is the reason why supermarkets are overwhelmed and their supply chain is out of stock on many items. As we go back here, there is enough food capacity in the overall food supply chain, and no one should worry about the US running out of food. However, the total supply chain is based on two segments: food at home and food away from home. The seismic shift towards food at home is what has caused the shortages. And that supply chain is not likely to recover full service of products again until the food away from home sector gets back to normal. Restaurants, corporate cafeterias, things of that nature. No need to panic, but there's going to be long-term shortages. At the top of the food supply chain, there's ample product. It's the diversion of customers to the retail grocery sector causing the shortages. I think that's 100% right. It goes into I find this pretty interesting. The fresh meat, poultry, and produce sections are the first disrupted short-term, but least disrupted long-term, recovering now. The reason is simple. The raw material isn't needed in the restaurant supply chain. Those products are right now in the process of being shifted to manufacturing, protein processing, and eventually into the retail food supply chain and end up at your local supermarket. With the increased diversion, increased production, and increased distribution, because what Nancy just said, and on top of the fact that they're now reopening the food the truck stops, thank God. Inside of 2 weeks, we should see fresh meats, chicken, pork, protein sector return to normal in their area supermarket. Produce is both nationally and locally sourced, which is always a good idea to get know what a CSA is, to get your locally sourced produce. So that supply chain was never as much at risk of disruption, is quite simply just overwhelmed on the distribution side. With the restaurant sector demand reduced, the produce operations will recover quickly as soon as supply chain diversion and distribution increases. All right, so anyway, I got to point that out. Here's Smithfield. Think about Oscar Mayer, Tyson, Hormel. They can only process a max amount within their manufacturing capacities, facilities. China owns Smithfield, so China controls that company. Is that what we want? To the extent that extra shoppers mean extra consumers wiping out frozen food, lunch meats, bacons, and cheeses, the manufacturing side of the retail system will be limited by their capacity. The sector is not going to change, and long-term supply chain issues will continue. However, we should be able to buy bulk lunch meats at the in-store deli counters because that bulk delivery processing will have more production capacity. So if you're looking for bologna and it's not available to prepackaged in the aisle, try looking for your deli section. It will be more expensive, but such is the life with coronavirus. And just in case you didn't see what I said the other day, hold on, losing the time. He talks about, all right, there's no need to panic, but I guess he doesn't say about fish. I'm not sure what it was, but he talked about you could probably buy some fish and stuff cheap. Where was it? We'll stop that. But anyway, I'm a big fan of the conservative treehouse. My man Sundance over there. I like what he says. He's not a Republican by any stretch. He is a Trumpster, but not a GOP at all. In fact, it's funny during the primary, he had like a board, almost like the Brady Bunch thing where they had all those guys, and it was funny, man. During the thing, he was big on Trump from the get go, and he was not big on anybody else. I like Ted Cruz. I thought Ted Cruz would have been a good president. I thought he would be a great attorney general, but the Trumpster, Trumpster. If you're in his way, he goes after. I guarantee, if I was in his way, he'd go after old Josh. You know what I'm saying? It's just, I wish he wouldn't do that, but he's president. I'm not. So be that as it is. So anyway, Nancy again. Let's repeat what Nancy said. She works at Walmart, I think, because she says she's heavy on company stock. Company stock, WMT, is Walmart. Companies are bulking up their deliveries. Should be getting better. At some point, people will realize they have enough. We have limits we sell per person now. I had my wife's brother is a big guy, a general manager at a big chain store. One of those whole warehouse places. And this weekend, Friday was it Friday or Saturday? I think it was Friday. They had to let people in, just in numbers like 10, whatever it was. I can't remember. But then he said when they opened the door, people would literally run to get toilet paper, not run to get meats, run to get toilet paper. Crazy. So at the end of the day, he says, look, it was such a panic that we had to literally limit the number of people that could come in at any given time. Watch the guy from Blue Collar Logic on YouTube, and he shows this video of people lining up around Costco. Elderly people had a chance to go to, I think it was Costco. They had a time to go, only you had to be 55 and older or something like that. It was lined up as far as you could. It's just freaking insane. That panic, I think, is going to subside. I really, really do. I've gone to the grocery. My wife's gone to the grocery. We've gotten everything we need without question. It hasn't been gouged, nothing like that. So maybe it's just because maybe in Georgia, we're less prone to panic. In fact, there's an article the other day. I didn't read the whole thing, but I read a cursory view of it, a cursory look of it that said, the liberals in the big cities are the ones prone to panic, where the conservatives in the suburbs and the rural areas are not as much. And I thought that was pretty interesting. It was a pretty interesting red versus blue thing, if you think about it, that the liberals are just used to just-in-time processing, inventory, and things like that. Thus of us out in the sticks, we have a little bit more elbow room. We're not up on each other, and we're used to, a lot of people do some gardening. A lot of people have neighbors that have more of a community spirit kind of thing. And it was pretty interesting. So the panic come from the media because they're all New York, Boston, and DC and Los Angeles. Most of us are not in there. We're in the hinterlands, the flyover countries. And because that, we're like, we don't see the panic because we don't have it. I thought that was pretty interesting, the dynamics of the red versus blue. The urban areas, the ones that are dealing with this more so than what I would call, the backbone of America for sure. Look, if you live in Manhattan, I'm not spiting you, man. Look, don't take that wrong. I don't care. If you live in Chicago, I'm not spiting you. I don't care. What I am saying, I think there's something to that once you're up on people like sardines and panic is prone, that can quickly gentrify. What's the word I'm looking for? Whatever it is, spread. I guess spread is the word I'm looking for, more so than us out here, which is pretty cool. That's one of the benefits of living in the suburbs. Again, a video I did last week, the silver lining of coronavirus. We can see that the recycling of using your bag to go grocery shopping, no, that's bad. We already knew about that. That was carrying all kinds of freaking diseases, all kinds of germs. You don't want to recycle your bags. That same grocery bag you're putting your freaking chicken in and taking it back to the store. Don't do that. Disposable goods are always better. They're cleanlier for sure. Absolutely. We don't want to be living in sardines. We don't want to be living in freaking soulless freaking buildings that the government forces you to live in, like in freaking Moscow or whatever the hell it is, wherever the commies are, or East Germany, I guess might be a better one. We don't want to be doing that. We don't want to rely on mass transportation. Nope. Because what carries diseases is people living on top of each other in big high-rise buildings and recycling, taking their bags into the back into the store in which to say, look at me, I'm green. We don't want to be doing that. So I think if anything, we recognize the wonderful need to have having suburban and rural areas as part of the United States and not being force-fed like freaking Mao force feeding us into wherever you want to put us. You need to live in the city. It's greener. Screw that. So those days are gone. I'm telling you right now. That's good news. So hopefully the rapid decline of mass rail, freaking electric trains in Fresno, was it Fresno to Bakersfield or something like that those clowns put in, where they could have been buying ventilators, but no one's going to blame them. They spent this boondoggle on a mass transit from Fresno to freaking Sacramento or something like that in California. We knew it was going to be way over budget. We knew it was going to be a boondoggle, and it was. But Jerry Brown could have been used that money to buy ventilators and masks. He didn't do it. Nah, funny. But yeah, we're gonna blame Trump. All right. My man, and I'm a big fan of Al. I like Al a lot. So when I disagree, doesn't mean I'm taking. Look, I had a guy. Look, when I disagree, it doesn't mean I'm freaking anti what you're saying. I don't like the technical analysis stuff. I just don't. That doesn't mean I think Al's my man. I'm a big fan of Al. I just don't agree with the technical analysis. But he could be proven right. I don't know. But he says Dow has a week before another cross and 2 weeks for the S&P. So it looks like Al is saying he thinks, and I'm just putting words in his mouth, that he thinks we'll have another week of down markets. I don't think so. I mean, look, don't bet on me. I'm just telling you. My man Dan says, to quote FDR, the only thing we have to fear is fear itself. Yeah, the whole speech is actually interesting. Yeah, we always know that saying, but there's so much more to it than that. Actually, I thought it was pretty interesting. Actually, where he talks about the fear that just takes over, the panic that ensues is pretty interesting. Only thing going up is U.S. long-term treasuries. Well, they didn't go up. That's simply not true, man. They did not go up. Let's see. Here's the long-term treasuries. Oops. Geez Louise. I have to use BND. I can't remember the ticker for the Vanguard long-term treasury. That's not long-term treasury, but that's a total market, a bond market, which is mostly government bonds and mortgage-backed securities. That did not go up. Now we had a nice rally, but then it got hammered. Long-term treasuries did. In fact, it's interesting now because the long-term treasuries were yielding below 1% just a week ago. Now the yield on long-term, the 30-year bond is 1.556. So the yield has gone from freaking just literally, let's see, 0.937 on March 9th is the yield. Remember, the yield and prices work in reverse, to 1.897 as of March 18th. So it doubled. The yield doubled in 9 days' time. That's probably 5 trading days time. The yield on long-term treasuries doubled from 0.9 to 1.89, more than double in 5 trading days. So if the yield's going up, inherently the price is going down the same. So don't bank on long-term treasuries giving you the reprieve, because that didn't happen the last couple of weeks. That's for sure. I think in the long run it's true, but just it didn't happen that time. No stock buybacks. Make pay it back. Give us baggage fee. Yeah, David, I completely agree with that. If the airlines are being stupid in terms of, I don't have any argument with that. If you're gonna freaking take the bailout, then freaking stop the silliness of this nuts. Yeah, Scott says this is not a bailout; it's a band-aid to keep everyone afloat. I agree with that for sure. My man Bruce in Rochester says time for world government to take over. I agree. We just need the not the UN, the Rothschilds. But not the UN. What's the thing of the central bankers there? The people go to Davos and all that. I'm drawing a blank with this, but anyway. We're a year before a vaccine, though, going to get worse before it gets better. Yeah, well, of course, the number of affected will get worse. Yes, exactly. The number of affected are going to get worse. The reason we know that is because they're testing them more. Yes, that's true. That doesn't mean the number of deaths are going to rise exponentially relative. It's just, look, Scott, I know I get what you're saying, but there is going to be more This is what drives me crazy. The media keeps saying so many people are infected. I'm like, infected? They're just testing more, and inherently they're gonna be more infected. Some are gonna die. Yes, that sucks. It sucks. Some die all the time. It sucks. At least here the kids aren't dying, unlike the swine flu. I still find it ironic. The swine flu had no empathy towards children, and yet no one cared. Literally, no one cared. Joe Biden said, "I would not get on a train. I would not get on a plane," and everyone tore after him, saying, "Joe, shut the hell up. You're going to cause a panic in New York City. We're all going to lose our jobs." And now, because Trump's in office, it's like the biggest pandemic we ever had. Swine flu is so much worse. So I mean, come on. Don't tell me this isn't political base. Trump was in office. We got to make it bad, try to take him out. His numbers have happened to go up, which is ironic. Obama's office, swine flu is much, much worse. And all of a sudden, peep. The one guy who said something that was reasonable was Joe Biden, of all people. And yet Biden was told by, the people in the media to shut the hell up. Pulverizer says there's a lack of attractive women around here. I think that's YouTube generally, man. I got back from seeing my parents, drove 3 hours, 90% of the traffic was semis. That's good. Hotels had 2-3 cars in the parking lots. It was 7 a.m. when the semi's full of toilet paper. Hotel stocks been taking a beating. That Meet Kevin guy did a video talking about some real estate mogul who also lives in the hotels. They get hammered. And then who's talking about Grant Cardone? I don't know anything about Grant Cardone. I don't care. But I guess something's going on with that guy because he has too much debt. I don't know what's going on, but the debt is the enemy, man. All right. Sergio, grocery chains are making a killing this quarter. Yep. Carl, I agree. If you're susceptible to the risk, you're the ones who should be quarantined and let us go on our way. Completely agree. Kroger, Amazon, Walmart are hiring big time. The whole health quarantine. Actually, someone posted something about it was a hospital that they had beds out in the parking lot of the parking garage of the hospital. And the lady panicked, says, see, don't believe. And there was no one in the bed. I forgot who it was, but someone said, you realize there's literally no one in the bed. So your panic about all these beds being out there in preparation, there's no one in the beds. It was just, I thought that was funny. It's like, see, look, all these beds for you who don't believe, look. And the guy's like, but there's no one in there. Kind of funny. They're treating this like it's a black plague when it's not. All right. Fear mongering is clickbait. Completely agree. Oh boy. All right. So let's see here. All right. My man Jesse in Boston says things seem to be relaxed. That's pretty good, man. I'm glad to hear that. Glad to hear that. Eastern PA, live outside. Panic is everywhere in Nashville. That's where Clay Travis is from, Nashville. So I live in Eastern Tennessee. No real panic here. All stores are stocked. It's pretty much life as usual. Yeah. Josh, you are good with TP. I think Georgia Pacific makes TP in my backyard. Well, I'm a prepper. I always got stuff. And, for my Army days, I'm running out of toilet paper and how much Mexican food I eat. And in fact, it's just, let's just put it this way. I prep. I have toilet paper. Now I told my kids, hey, make sure you're not overdosing on TP here, man. We want to make sure we got the toilets covered, if you know what I'm saying. We don't want to have to go back out and use Pablo to wipe. Pablo didn't find that funny. Let's see. GE builds F-16s. All right. Mr. Potter when people are panicking. Yep. I got 600 shares of BP for $16.50. Thought it was a good deal. It's been pretty much my last bullet to use as I've been buying for the last 2 weeks. Right on. I know Josh is big on Roth 401k, but I do traditional because when the market tanks, USA loses tax-paying money too, so they got skin in the game. Yeah, but that's where you take it out, and now you moved over to Roth, man. I will reduce my honking at truckers on I-81. Oh, I hate I-81, man. No doubt. I-81 from freaking Roanoke up through Winchester. Oh, horrible. J&J for buying art. What is J&J doing? Let's take a gander, shall we? J&J. $155 to $119. So it's down about 25 points or so. No, about 30 points. So J&J, oops, is down 19%. That's nothing, man. That's a nothing burger. The cruise industry doesn't get any stimulus bailouts, the cruise stocks will drop. Well, if you hate CO2, that's what you want, man. You want it. You want the cruise industry to go bankrupt because the cruise lines put all kinds of CO2 in the atmosphere, as do the airlines, which is part of the Green New Deal. Remember, they said no one's telling you not to fly. If you really are truly hating CO2, you can't fly. You just can't. You can't take cruise ships. It's literally that simple. So in some ways, there you go, right? If they don't want CO2, be interesting to see. All right, Royal Caribbean at 22 last Friday. It was 135 a month ago. Damn. Royal Caribbean at 22 and whoa. That's crazy, man. What, from 135 to 22. I see. I hate to let. All right, just want to say real quick too. Be careful on PE, my friends. When you're looking at PE ratios, it's going to be is hindsight. The quarter isn't over yet, so you're going to look at some PEs. Those are going to look pretty doggone attractive. Let's use Royal. I don't know what's our Royal Caribbean's ticker. Royal. Oops. I can't type to save my life. Royal. There we go. Royal Caribbean Cruises. Yeah, I hope you all can see this. It says it has a PE of $2.66. All right, what's that based on? Well, that's based on the last quarter earnings. So they're basing the last quarter earnings for the E side of the PE. They're basing the P side on right now, which is right there. I hope that makes sense. That's you can't go off that, man, because the last quarter earnings for Royal Caribbean aren't going to be. It's probably going to be negative earnings, so there'll be no PE because they make no money for this quarter. I mean, I'm not saying don't buy it. I mean, actually looks probably a good buy. I just don't buy individual stocks, but you got to be careful. You got to be careful. Now, dividend yield, maybe, because dividends most likely companies, I don't know. We'll have to find out. Our company's going to cut their dividends back. I don't think so. 1 quarter of negative earnings won't make a dividend go kaput. 2 quarters going into 3, they'll start cutting back earnings. 1 quarter of negative earnings, they won't cut back dividends for that. 2 quarters, I think they could. 3 quarters, certainly. So, if you're looking at the dividend yield, because a dividend yield would be fantastic. I don't know if this pays a dividend. Yeah, look at that. So it's got a dividend yield of 13.92. All right, so you can see that. And the reason for that is because they're paying the same dividend, but the price is falling. So the dividend, so you have 2 things going on. I hope this makes sense. You got a price that changes every single day, but the P, that's the P. But the E is based on the last quarter's report. We'll just say 31st December. All right, so the P is going like this, but the E is flat. The E hasn't changed because they're using last quarter's report. Well, now you got the P is dropped. So it looks incredibly attractive relative to the last quarter's earnings, but last quarter earnings are facade. That's not going to happen this quarter. It's going to fall like a brick. It's going to have negative earnings. But then you have the actual dividend it pays. We'll say it pays $1 per share. What's the likelihood of Royal Caribbean continue to pay that dividend? I frankly, I don't know. Again, like I said, if they had negative earnings for 1 quarter, they'll probably keep it, right? Because they still want people to buy the stock, for heaven's sake. But that's going to be risky for that company because there's no demand at all. And there might not be demand for 3 months even out because people are still going to be, the aftershock could crush them. But that yield looks pretty attractive. The question is, will they continue to pay that $1 dividend? I just don't know the answer to that. I don't know what their cash flow looks like. I don't know how much cash they have on hand. I mean, if they have a bunch of cash on hand, which I bet they don't, that's a pretty attractive stock. If you can get it now at a 13% dividend yield, and they got a bunch of cash on hand and not that much debt, that's pretty attractive. I don't think that's the case, though. Harry thinks the S&P is going down to 1,800. Oof, that'd be, I mean, yeah, you might be right, Harry. You might be right. What a great fund to combine. What's a great fund to combine for more growth? But I'm tempted to get a S&P 500 dividend. S&P, yeah, just buy the index. I got no qualm with that. VDIGX, an index fund for sure. Absolutely. I got no qualm with that. Starbucks opened all China stores. They seem to have it under control. And I think, didn't Nike open their stuff back in China too? China is saying coronavirus is under control there. Yeah, and I trust China like I trust Bernie. Let's put it that way. Right on, my man, Fear the Eternal. Here's another guy who doesn't agree with me everything I say, but we can get along, man. It's okay. I hate the people on there. I can't take this incest. Like, here's my man Rob. I love Rob. He's a good guy. He doesn't agree with me in this at all. He doesn't agree with me at all in this. That doesn't. But look, it's okay not to agree with me. I'm okay with that. Just don't be a freaking ass. And Rob's not an ass. He's probably the nicest guy you ever met. And he texts me. You got. But I consider him a friend. It's okay for friends not to agree. He's negative on this. I'm not as negative. It's okay. But at the end of the day, he's not freaking sniping. It's just he's saying, look, I got well-reasoned, thought-out arguments, and I'm going to present them to you. I said, I get it. I just don't happen to agree with it. One of us can be right. And if he's right and we're all dead, then we won't care. I'm just being facetious. But it's okay not to agree with me. I don't care. But just don't be an ass. YouTube's got too many asses. I just can't take it. No, Q Humor says S&P 500 lost 37% in Great Recession. No, it did not. It lost 55%. 55%. From October 2007 to March 9th of 2009, it was down 55%. 55%. And the funny thing was, government bonds are the only thing that did well. Well, now you go today, government bonds are not. They're not. It's just interesting to me that what before was our reprieve from volatility, it never is it never. So in 2000, dividend stocks did great. All right, bonds themselves did fine. 2007 and 8, I don't know what happened to gold in 2000. I don't know. 2000, 2001, and 2. I don't know what happened to gold, but I think they did fine. 2007 through 2009, everything got hammered except government bonds. Fast forward to 2020, everything is getting hammered. It's just funny, man. It's just, you don't know. I mean, all these guys say, I know. My stimulus money is going around the door for property taxes. My stimulus money, what am I going to spend my stimulus money on? Gun store line is around the blocks. Yeah, that's pretty cool. Yeah, what's this going to do to feminism and transgender issues? Hopefully put them both back where they belong in the ash heap of history, that's for sure. Max Kellerman is an expert on sports teams. No positive ROI for municipalities. Is that Kellerman? Is that who you're saying? I can't stand that guy, but I'm not a big fan of his at all. But there is no positive ROI for municipalities unstated, none whatsoever. 90% of the money in cash, says Melvin. Think I should roll the dice and buy back in the market? Man, why would you, what's it, my man Melvin, why would you put me on the spot like that? If I was 90% cash, I would put some back in without question, but I don't know your circumstance, that's for sure. Oh, whoa. Vinyl Earthling says I have to go. Times the London crossword puzzle. Did you not hear how the crossword puzzles now are a symptom of white privilege? Literally, there's an article written on that in The Atlantic, that crossword puzzles were symptomatic of white privilege. Can you freaking believe that? There's Big G, the Buffalo Billion. They laid off everyone from that new solar company, ended up a joke at taxpayer expense. Yeah. I do think the stimulus is at risk for this week, Harry. It looks like the left won't rest until Planned Parenthood is fully funded. My man Rob, you know I love you, man. And just in case you think I'm out, I've lost my mind. I respect you immensely. I actually think, and look, but he says those people fear dying and those that fear the economy dying. I could not agree with that more. And my fear is the economy dying. That's a great way to put it. My man says, enough of this crap. What about Pablo? Pablo wants to say hello. Oh, yeah. There's all that matters. There he is. Pablo's got a double chin because we feed him so well. You make me feel like this. All right, let's see. I'm just going to take a gander. Yeah, Rod said he'd never been in oil, but it's getting beaten up so bad he might start looking at it. Man, that's not a bad idea. The capitalist governments could go away. Our governments at all levels have taken. That's my concern, man. That's 100% right. Again, like I said, just the precedence. And once the precedence is established, watch the market when good news comes out about the virus, even if it's just the number of cases stabilize. Yeah, I completely agree, John. When people start realizing that the stabilization has happened and the exponential stuff is no more, and I'm just literally, and it's going to happen sooner rather than later for sure. And when that does, people are like, oh, that's it. And then of course it happens to coincide with the spring. Just going back to my man Rob. Rob is I hate to put words in the mouth, worried about what's going to happen to the S storm that's coming in November, and that's his concerns more on that. So Rob's negative on the coronavirus. He's worried about it. He's not as worried about it now. He's more worried about in November. I just that's so far off, man. I don't know. So I think that's right now. I'm just worried about surviving this day. Let's see. Anything else? April 5th. Let's see the food. Okay. Everyone remember April 5th. Let's see if this food prediction is true. I didn't see that. Who said that? What was the food prediction, Vic? I didn't see that. We don't want Joe Biden around, Mike. Can you imagine that guy's? Pages are missing from his wife's Harry Potter's book. Oh man, that's great. Joe Biden's either sleeping or sniffing girls. Live as usual in TN. Right on, Dan. Right on, man. Lives in a panic. Yeah, I think that's probably true. I'm counting Williamson County, which is 20 miles from Nashville. People work in Nashville but live in Williamson County who are infected. Yeah, and then Mike says plenty of food in his shelves there. East Germany, as in DDR. Heritage Wealth planning after Cold War flashback. When you see your local supermarket cleaned out, you realize you're surrounded by unhinged people. Just remember, if you're interested in just growing hydroponics, growing inside with LED lights, watch my man Kang Star. His YouTube channel is freaking awesome. KHANGSTARR. I've learned a lot from that guy, Kang Star. So watch his channel on just growing inside. He's out in Houston and growing outside as well. But it's a great channel because I do think hydroponics and growing food inside with your LED lights is going to be, there's probably going to be a lot more takers in doing that. I've done that a couple of times, and you get one of those Aero Gardens, which I've used, but they're easy to make. I mean, just it doesn't take much to do. I mean, a hell of a lot cheaper than Aero Garden, but it's Aero Gardens is literally plug and play. But if you get one of those Aero Gardens, you can start growing small tomatoes and stuff. I actually had a little thing like where I had a whole like a half a not a room, but like curtains put up where I was growing a blueberry bush. And that sucker was growing like crazy, man. It was awesome. I had a blueberry bush going there about 2 years ago. And then I got rid of it. I put it outside to see if it grow better outside. And it's already starting to bloom some blueberries out there, which is pretty sweet. Yep. When Obama was in office, we went through 2 pandemics and not a word was said. I wonder why. Why is that? Rob, why is that people who profess to be unfearful don't have the balls to use their full names? Rob, no one has the balls to use their full names on YouTube. I mean, that's my man Bob, who I've since banned. I banned him today. I'd never use his full name. I just find it funny. I'm Bob, and I'm going to be a freaking ass. It's the nature of the beast. YouTube brings out the worst in some people for sure. Time for 60 plus is too early, 7 to 8 a.m. Most seniors not able to go at that time. Jericho, Columbus, Ohio. Finally, stores here are fine. We'll be interested to see the anti-malaria Z-Pack cocktail works. Yeah, Nancy calls it a mob mentality. If you see people buying, they think they must know something that the other people don't and grab it. I think that's right. Mac Attack. All right, let's see what we say here. Yeah. Pablo needs to go outside or you'll give Josh a dividend. Yeah, man, that's no doubt. All right. You're probably right. All right. So we'll, I'm in year 2 of Roth conversion. I'm thinking of taking advantage of the low stock price to convert more for a lower tax bill. Am I correct in my thought? Yes. Unequivocally, you're collecting a thought. Yes, sir. Wellington's absolute win. Yep. Absolutely. All right. I guess I didn't see what Big G, if you got the lag from Josh comment to question is tough. The lag from comment. Pablo, what do you recommend buying? No way. You load up a dog food? How can you not love this guy? I love him. If they ever told me don't kiss a dog because of coronavirus, I'm kissing him. All right. I guess I'm out here, my friends. So we'll probably do another live stream. At some point, real quick, I just want to end with this. I was talking to my sister, and we're like, so what's going to happen? Like, is Trump going to magically pull, a ring, a bell, and say everybody back to work? I mean, no matter what happens, the guy's going to lose because he magically rings the bell. We go back to work, and one person dies. The media's going to say, Trump, you called it too early. Oh my goodness. The restocking of food shelves in 2 weeks was my comment. Is that what they're? For that article I read. Is that what you're saying? Okay, gotcha. Anyway, so like, who's going to be the one that says we can finally go back to work? Trump, Dr. Fauci, who's in love with Hillary, heaven forbid, the World Health Organization. I mean, who's going to be the one that says, "Hey, Jimmy, right on, man"? The govs, all right, yeah. You think? Yeah, you probably. That's the way it should be, though, man. Vinyl, it should be like that. It should be on the governors, man. The governors should be the one to say, let's go back to work. But when? I mean, what, you have the governor of New York saying go back to work and the governor of Kansas saying no. I mean, I don't know. I just I don't want it coming from the president, even if it's the president I like. I don't want that, man. Yeah, I hope you're right. I hope the governors I hope the governors say, all right, we dodged this, let's go back. But my concern is they're not gonna. They like the power. They like being on TV more so than the president, that's for sure. But all right, we will see you guys. Like I said, I'll probably do a live stream here this week at some point, simply because this will be fun. It's gonna be a fun week. We'll see. Not why I say fun. No, I'm not. I am sad for people who die. I hate to have to validate this. Don't stop. I'm sad for people who are freaking out because of the markets. I hate that. But this is literally history being made in the making. Look, you could be fear. I just don't want to be. This is history, man. Live it, learn it. And what can you take from this later on? Well, you need cash. That's a fact. Cash is king. Always will be. Cash always is a king, man. No debt is always better than having debt. And you can think you got your preps in order, and then you find out you don't have any toilet paper. Like, man, I had all the emergency electricity stuff, solar photovoltaic panels. I got my freaking inverters. I got my battery banks. I don't have any toilet paper. Anyway. Well, Vinyl Earthling says, I'm sorry, but we all must die. That's ban worthy. How dare you? How dare you? But can you see? How can you not love my YouTube channel with this guy on here? All right, my friends. Prairie Mark, I saw an email you had written. Look, man, I appreciate what you had written. I know uh, email, not email. The notes can come across. Um, the words can come across more. I don't say anger. It's not anger. Just a little bit more demeaning or something like that. And so anyway, what I'm saying is, you had said something about scorning the HHS people. And I said, look, I'm not scorning them. I'm just saying, how about some freaking sympathy for the business people out there? So just FYI, on be careful, not you, me too, by the way, before we start, piss on each other for what because you can't see the context of emails. And I know what you said. You said, hey, don't score. And I said, I get it, but I want some more sympathy for business owners as well. But that doesn't come across as well as I like in terms of the way the email or the verbal stuff on when you're writing stuff on comments sound. So I just felt like I appreciate you being here, and I just didn't want you to think I was being a dick. I don't think I am, but anyway. All right, so we will see you all next week, and I just gave Pablo a big kiss. He's gonna go drop a dookie with no toilet paper. Don't leave me with that cute humor. My God, I know that's true, but that we got hey, verses on the death of Dr. Swift. All right, I'm gonna have to read that. All right, y'all. We'll see you next time. Hang in there. Next week's gonna be fun. Nah, prayer, you weren't too direct. It's all good. That's what I'm saying. You can't tell somebody's point of view. You know how it is. You email somebody, you can't tell the context. I just said, dude, I like Mark. I just didn't want him thinking I was being a dick, and I don't think he's being a dick to me. He's just saying, look, we just got different opinions. It just comes across a little bit more brutal than it really means to be on an email thing or a comment thing for sure. So you're all good. We're good, brother. All right, we'll see you guys. Oops, I got to figure out how to close this. Pablo said bye bye.